Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Taste of Dragons, the Toddcast, video game podcast that all you skull-faced people listen to. My name is Brian.
My name is Troy.
Amanda.
And I'm Joe.
Who's not a skull face person?
I don't know, especially not in this one game I'm playing.
I mean, does a skull face just mean you have a skull like inside your face? Because I have one of those.
It's you know, hopefully we all have one of those.
Ditto? Ditto doesn't have a skull, right? He's all
The
goo.
Pokemon
That's
Ditto?
correct.
Yeah, he's all gooey.
I mean, Skeletor's just a skull.
yeah, ghosts don't have skulls.
Oh, all right. I'm all right. So I guess everyone but Ditto is listening to this
And ghosts?
podcast. But a skeletal like ghost can have bones, right? But they're like ghostly
No.
bones, like you can put your hand through them.
No.
Why not?
I don't
They
know
get
if
clothes. Why can't they get their bones?
That's not how that works, Troy.
Oh man! All right, get our ghost scientists on here. What's Luigi doing? Does he know? Where's Egad? Right?
It's Egad. Yeah.
Egad knows a thing or two about this.
They definitely don't have skulls.
He never researched ghost bones. Never mind. Don't want to know about
Yeah.
that. Don't want to think about that. Don't want to know what Professor Egad is doing in that basement.
Egad.
Egad. Ooh. Mario. No.
I mean, he came up with Gooigi. I don't want to know what else he's come up with.
And that's Egad who came up with that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Oh, I just guessed that. I wasn't sure.
That's completely correct.
All
He's
right.
like low-key a Nintendo villain, isn't he?
I think he spilt things. That's how he made Gooigi, isn't it? Didn't he like trip and spill one thing into another thing?
No, he says that he did it on purpose when he's explaining it to Luigi, but it probably is something later on that you find out, because a lot of Egad's stuff that he's made is based on accident.
He seems like a bumbler.
Yeah. He's just ever so slightly less a bumbler than Luigi himself.
Oh gosh, I do not want to live in that hotel.
No one should.
Oh man.
They're the ones that are saving the day somehow.
I don't even want them to save the day. I just want to take it out here. I want to give my bad Yelp review and be on my way.
Well, yeah, let's get into it. I guess let's start with what we've been playing this week.
What are you playing?
Nice, that was a good one. Joe, let's start with you.
I started playing the beta for Nioh 2 today.
Ooh.
And it's amazing. Like, amazing. It's so amazing that I don't even know where to begin, but yokai are like one of my favorite things ever. So you get to build your person. I never actually build the person in games, but I totally built the chick in this game because it could be a chick. And they gave you so many hairstyles. You could change how her eyebrows were. You could change how the depth of her eyes were. You could change her age. I made her middle-aged. She's still awesome.
There's not enough middle-aged women in gaming.
No.
However, you could also change her boobs, and I also did that too.
Well, there is enough of that in
Yeah,
gaming.
that was like a normal thing. I was like, Brian, come here. Check it out.
What is a Nioh 2?
Nioh, the first game came out. It's a game where you are a Englishman who is kind of
Really?
yeah. You're an Englishman on a boat, and you get sort of. It's not this very layman's version of saying it. You get shipwrecked in Japan, and then you meet a whole bunch of people who want to use your skills as a knight, essentially. And you are all around all these feudal samurais, and you are all around feudal Japanese ghosts as well, which are yokai. Yokai are kind of like fairies, almost like if you believe in them,
Like
they're real.
evil fairies?
Oh,
Or
some of them are. Some of them are
Ooh.
evil, some of them are good. If you believe in them, though, they're real. And the moment you stop believing in yokai, they're not real anymore. They start to disappear.
Tinkerbell.
Yeah, I was going to say it's Tinkerbell.
That's what I was trying to say. Like, they're kind of like fairies.
Clap
like
your
to
hands.
us. Yeah.
Clap your swords.
But you live in this world where yokai attach themselves to people, and yokai, like a lot
Gross.
of Japanese stories, have to do with when you do something bad. It's because a bad yokai is near you, and it's in your ear, essentially telling you to do something bad.
hell
It's demons,
yeah.
and like the little demon on your shoulder or the little angel on your shoulder. Some
I am
yokai are awesome,
all about not my fault.
right?
Hey, I didn't want to steal that sandwich. It was the yokai on my shoulder.
It's a thing. These things happen.
He's
so,
a sandwich
yeah.
yokai. I couldn't do anything.
But the first game he plays this guy, and he has the ability to see other people's yokai because he has one himself.
Cool.
And when you can see another person is like has the power of a yokai with them. Some of them are like ancient spirits that are just amazing, and they're imbuing that person with power that's unbelievable, and that's why they win. That's why they keep like doing all these things. And then he also meets some of the bad guys in the game, and the bad guys are like they've got yokai that are like real bad. Like there's a succubus lady. Damn, I played this game for like a year and I stopped playing this game for like a year because I couldn't beat her, and it was early.
Whoa.
Early in the game.
it was.
It's a really brutal game, and it's because I don't block. I've
get
since
that.
learned how to block. Therefore, I can play the game.
So it's got a pretty cool, interesting premise, and it is
it's
a
awesome.
fighting action game,
Yes.
parrying.
You have to learn how to use
difficult.
everything. It's got a whole armor system. It's got a whole it's like Destiny. Like
Okay.
you have all these different things you can add to your armor to make it so that, but everything you add makes you way more, so you move
Okay.
slower. All your power ups are kind of like a skill tree based, and it is action adventure. Everything
Cool.
is
Is it kind of like
cool.
Dark Souls?
Yes, it's sorry, that's what everybody was comparing it to. when it
Right,
came out.
right. So what are you finding in Nioh 2 that's like different or
So,
interesting to
to begin
you?
with, it seems like it just kind of gives you the game. Like it's not the whole game, I'm assuming, because I haven't
No.
really moved past one level, just because it's beautiful.
Nice.
Like and the game, that's the other thing. Nioh 1 was a gorgeous looking game. Like all the cool ornate stuff they built in the game, it's just gorgeous, and it moved well. The game moved very, very well. It was just hard. This game, no different. The cool thing that you start off with, though, is that you can choose a male or a female character. And I thought it was really cool that you could change anything. You could even give her facial hair. It gives you all of the options, the male and female options at the same time. So if you wanted her to look different, you could. If you wanted him to look different, you could. Some of the hairstyles they give you are awesome. Clearly, a lot of that stuff has got to be locked at the beginning of the game. Because just like in the first one, you ended up unlocking tons of armor and really cool looking stuff. And you didn't get any of that stuff to the end of the game. It just doesn't work that way. They don't give you all those options, but they did now, and it's awesome.
And you said this is a beta?
Yeah, it's only live, I think, till the 10th, I believe.
Yeah, it's
So I only had today to play it, basically, and that is what I did with most of my afternoon and evening. It was great. So I've met a couple of new yokai that are not in the other game that are way harder and weird looking. And I think it's just the level cap's odd, because you start at 0, basically, 1, and then you have to slowly build yourself up, and I have forgotten what it was like to be level 1 in this game.
It seems like the Nioh games are made for a specific type of person, and that specific type of person is you, Joe.
It's
and
possible.
I'm very happy about that.
I love yokai, so yes,
Yeah.
it's made for me. They put yokai in anything, and I'll play that game.
it's fair.
Do they have a perspective when that's supposed to come out for realsies?
I think it's May next year or March
Wow.
next year.
No, that's Cyberpunk
Yeah.
time. That's Animal Crossing
It's
time.
Oh,
it's
no.
I actually
that's-
want to say it's in May or March, and I think it's March because I think it's close to
No,
Final Fantasy.
no.
Because I think
Not
we had this
okay.
conversation. It's
Push
there's
that
no
back to
hard date.
July.
There's no hard date as far as I know. But
Be a
March,
pal.
There we go.
March 13th.
Get
Yeah.
out of here. That's the same
I was
weekend.
super upset because
Yeah.
he's gonna be playing on the PlayStation
Final Fantasy
downstairs
is
with
March
us.
10th, or Animal Crossing's March 10th.
Oh
Animal,
no!
Animal Crossing's March 20th.
Yeah,
got
Animal
s-
Crossing was after.
Hey,
I'm
easy.
not gonna
You
have a lot
got
of
7
time.
days to beat Nioh 2.
It's not
I
gonna
mean,
happen.
it's a quick game. Don't worry about it. Give it the old college try. Whatever.
There's,
Yeah.
you know what? I'll probably get mad at it at some point and just stop playing for a year. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy is March 3rd.
Yes,
I can't
That's,
think of a more different dynamic, like a difference to go back and forth between Nioh 2 and Animal Crossing, like a palate cleanser.
that's what I'm going to be doing.
Oh yeah,
Like I don't want to be slashing these fools anymore. Let me go. I don't know. Pick some pomegranates.
I'm gonna go send my friend some letters.
There
I
you go.
hope I get pomegranates. Oh my gosh. That would be amazing.
That would be cool.
That would be amazing. I'm
Yeah.
with you on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are we talking about pomegranates? Why is this not a pomegranate podcast? What are we
Because
doing?
it's too much alliteration. Consonant?
Pomegranate podcast. Pomegranate.
Pomegranate
podcast.
and then our-
That is hard.
Alliteration, yeah.
Alliteration. Thank you.
and then our initials are PP. We can't
Ooh.
we can't
Oh,
do
no,
that.
that's
We're
it.
a higher brow than that.
Way
Thank
higher.
you very much.
Yes.
Not too highbrow to mention it, but highbrow.
I claim none of that. I don't think I'm highbrow enough for that.
We don't make D comments anymore, except for that one that I just did, but not anymore.
Not
okay.
anymore. Lewis is gone.
Yep.
So all right, cool.
But thank you. Yeah, it was great.
Nice game there, Joe. How about you, Amanda? What did you play?
I played an old game. I don't really know what inspired this, but I opened up Neverwinter again. If you're not familiar with Neverwinter, it's an MMORPG based on Forgotten Realms. If you don't know what Forgotten Realms is, it's a world based in the game Dungeons and Dragons. I think a lot of it was written by R.A. Salator,
Yes.
who did like I'm not going to remember the name of the books, but he does the Dritz Orden stories, which is a drow, which if you don't know what that is a dark elf.
It's the only good dark elf.
You could,
Like
you
literal
could,
good.
you could go down that train so hard.
I
Drow,
definitely
which
could.
if you don't know is a dark elf, which you don't know is originally a regular elf, but which you don't know what elf is.
They live underground now.
I could go really deep.
Are they mole people?
No, I could
Oh.
talk about drow ad nauseum, but
Okay.
Teaser.
okay,
we're going to get
doing
to
this.
complicated lore later in the podcast.
That's
We'll
true.
tease, so we're going to brace you for it. We'll brace
right.
you for some of this.
but stepping back to the beginning, I jumped back into the MMORPG, which came out several years ago at this point, but it's still lots of fun. It's free to play, but it just came out with a new expansion. I was going to jump into the new expansion, but I decided, like the smart person that I am, to start over. Why wouldn't you just start over? So I'm kind of enjoying the early level stuff. It's really interesting because it gets like iconic characters from the stories that I mentioned. So if you read the books, you could see some of the people from the books. Or
nice.
If you played D&D and you played a default setting, some of the people that you encountered in your play, maybe in the game, which is fun. And the set pieces are all actual places that you've heard of. So it's nice to like go to a place that you're kind of familiar with and then see what they did with it. You can go to the Underdark and see Drow,
that's awesome.
the Dark Elves, or you can go to the Undermountain and see Mind Flayers, or you can go to a myriad of other places, and that's really fun. And like I said, they got a new expansion, which is Gith, which I've never heard of before, versus Mind Flayers, which are terrifying.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with that.
So you can see a lot of different places in there. Can you see the dice being thrown on the field?
Actually, yes, they have a D&D inspired event every year where your player gets sucked into a magical orb, and then you appear on a D&D board and you play Dungeons and Dragons, and all the other players that you're a person, so you like move, but all the NPCs are just cardboard cutouts of people, and like you can see it's very meta, but it's very, very funny.
That's awesome.
And you I think your prize for finishing it is an energy drink. But the game's fun. It's a little old, so some of the mechanics are like back when they came out, they were great, but now they're just kind of dated. Like the menus is a lot. There's a lot of options. The PvP is kind of old, and then the communication functionality is like, man.
Yeah, the chat.
Yeah. Oh, like the idea of a chat in a PlayStation game is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But it's free, so I can easily shove all of that aside and just really enjoy it. I can spend hours and hours just running around doing fetch quests and be perfectly happy.
Nice. Yeah. Hours and hours of fun for free is always awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you generally don't have to spend any money. It's not like that fake free.
Oh, okay. It's not faux free. It's free. Awesome. Well, good game there. Troy, you have a little snippet of a game before we get into our deep dive.
Yeah, before we go deep into death. I wrapped up A Plague Tale: Innocence, which we talked about last week. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it because last week I was like, oh, this game world is horrible to be in. I actively don't like being in it. And that is a credit to the creators that it should feel that way. Well, I found the beauty. Ooh. And the beauty was inside all along. No, I really actually fell in love with that game as it continued to progress. They do a lot of fun things with time where you kind of fast forward a couple days. You kind of fast forward maybe a month or so. So they took time to really develop these characters where bad things can happen and it doesn't immediately get resolved. Not like most games or movies where like everything happens in 2 days.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, this is taking some time. And I appreciated that. It made me bond with the characters more. So yeah, I really found the beauty as I got towards the end, the relationship between her and her brother and the world. And it reminded me, or it drew a similarity to what I think that game actually is for me. And it's God of War.
Oh.
That game is God of War in disguise, except instead of being Kratos, the amazing, super powerful God of War, you are a 15-year-old girl with a slingshot. And that by itself is fascinating. Mm-hmm. But the way that you care for each other, the way you're kind of on this solemn quest, there's supernatural elements that are monumental. But at its root, it is just about this relationship between two people that are related to each other. And it wraps up in such a beautiful, poignant way that I cannot recommend it enough for people that want a nice story-driven type game, stealth-based game and whatnot. I had it on, the lights were off, and I was in a really intense moment, rats and things gnarling at you. And while I was playing this game at like 2:00 in the morning, there was a huge crash, right? So I was like, looked over and I was like, what's going on? All right. Took off the headphones and I had to do that like search through the house one light at a time. This looks fine. This looks fine. This looks fine. I found nothing. The doors were locked, so like I'm good. And then I put my headphones on and I'm just going to believe that it was something in the game I heard.
Did you check the attic?
Ah!
Maybe it was your neighbors. It just went through the door. Just went through the walls. You just
coming
heard
through.
it.
I'm a rat.
Yeah.
But hats off to the game. It got me into a place where I couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so Asobo Games made that, and $30 easy.
Nice. How long did it take you to beat?
Hard to say. It's probably more than 10 hours. I don't know exactly how long, to be honest, but a week of casual gameplay.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
It's a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Cool. And now we're going to get into, I wouldn't say deep dive because we really haven't played that many hours, but our dive into Death Stranding.
Our new release.
So, we actually postponed recording this on our normal time so that way we could play this game and actually talk about it a little bit.
Because
Give you
otherwise,
a hot take.
That's right.
this podcast would have come out 2 days or 3 days after the game came out, and we wouldn't have been talking about it.
Nope.
We can't let that happen.
No.
This game that we've been wondering about for 3 years now, not knowing anything, what it's going to be.
We didn't want to leave our audience stranded.
Oh my goodness. Mandy, you won the podcast today.
I'm Brian today.
You need to drink coffee more often before coming here.
I'm so sorry.
But yeah, so I think I've played maybe about 6 hours of it, 6 or 7 hours. I did appreciate how, they've released trailers of this game beforehand, and the one that most people know about is the announced trailer one at E3, where it's him just on a beach, and then there's just
naked
with a baby,
crying,
and then there's crying, and then not there, and then there's people floating, and it's just like Death Stranding. It's like, what? They literally just put that in the game, as like maybe like an hour or two into the game, like you're like the opening announcement of the game. Here it is, and as it was going, I was like, oh, they actually literally just the exact same thing. They didn't touch it. They didn't do anything.
Here it is.
All right, here you go.
So that's been one of the things I've been kind of happy about is I watched the first couple of trailers to get enticed. Because, first of all, I was impressed by the story. This is, Hideo Kojima, formerly from Metal Gear Solid, his big franchise. Yeah. And after he was working with the company that made Metal Gear Solid, Konami, they let him go. There was a departure that was not clean or nice. And this is his chance to make a game without being held back by any big corporations or publishers. This is Sony pretty much. Oh, no, is it? No. Who's
Sony did help fund it because it was an exclusive to them.
Gotcha.
Even though it's going to come, I think it's going to come to the PC eventually. But I think Sony did give them funding in order to do this.
Yeah, they looked at Kojima and said, do whatever you want, bro.
Yeah.
And Kojima's like, yes, finally. And he did not hold back.
No. It was weird for me because before this came out, I was thinking to myself, oh man, does this mean it's going to be better or worse because Kojima doesn't have somebody like holding him back? Like, I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows? And again, I'm only 6 hours in, so I still don't know.
And so the trailers kind of had me intrigued because I didn't know what it was going to be like. And they got me enough that I was like, I'm good. I don't want to see anything else. But what I've been pleasantly surprised with, like you said, Brian, is that I've seen everything in the trailers pretty much already. And I'm only in the beginning of it, which I love when games do that. If I'm going to see a trailer and there's something cool about it, I like that it's not somewhere towards the end of the game because then I'll spend the whole game waiting for that to happen or not knowing knowing that my character's going to be fine because that scene in the trailer didn't pop up yet.
Yeah.
But because they kind of front loaded the game with the things I've already seen, I feel now I'm just blank. I'm truly blank.
Can be crazy.
Oh, yeah. I know.
If it's anything like the beginning, it will be.
Yeah.
How do we even break this down? Like, how do we even explain what this game is? It's been a question mark for years now. And now the question I feel like is mostly answered for me is basically what you're doing in the game.
Correct. But even then, I don't know if this is going to continue on through the rest of the game. Maybe this is just the very beginning, like how it is in like a lot of RPGs where it's like, all right, cool, just deliver some flowers. And then by the end, you're killing a guy. like who knows, exactly where we're going with this.
Well, then all we can talk about is the now.
That's right. We can only talk about the now. The bridge babies are pretty interesting. I do like how the name came about because you're working for a company called Bridges.
Yeah.
Or it's just that's what it's called is Bridges. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the game is heavily loaded with cutscenes.
Yes.
Coming into it from the beginning, you're mostly just watching like 2 movies in a row, and you get to control the character a couple times. I'm ready for this. I'm a big fan of all that. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying that I'm good. I like it. But once you get into the game and you start putting the world together, you start realizing, for me, that this is an incredibly unique take on a post-apocalyptic world.
Yes.
I've seen a post-apocalypse many times. It's usually rags or robots or something. He's gone out of his way to make something that's not totally desolate, yet totally desolate.
Yeah.
But in a very unique way that is keeping me on the edge of my toes.
Mm-hmm.
But because of this occurrence where people have kind of come in touch with the world beyond death, and those worlds have kind of melded together and destroyed a lot of things, you are a pretty much a postman who's being charged by the president, not the president of the USA, United States of America, but the president of the UCA, United Cities of America, because we don't have states anymore in this world. And pretty much they're all offline, and you're like a postman / like modem delivery service.
Yeah.
And you're going to connect all of these cities together so that they can be united. And on the way, maybe you find some drugs, some medicine people need, that kind of drugs. Okay, Mandy, I don't know what you're into. I mean, I'm not judging you. You do what you got to do. Pass the day. The days are long. I don't know. Whatever party favors and drugs you want to get. Anyway. But along the way, you'll pick up maybe materials, plants, things that people need, and then you can put them on your back and then take them to the next cities or wherever they need to be delivered.
Yes.
They have a lot of mechanics involved in that, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you're piled too high, you'll go off weight and you'll tilt.
And what do you mean by piled too high? For the people who haven't seen visuals.
So the game, when you are packing the things and you have the drugs, Mandy, and
I don't know why this is about me all of a sudden.
the different metals in the packages, you have to place them on yourself somewhere. Maybe they're attached to the arm, maybe you're holding them, but you also have a backpack that you can stack them strategically. So kind of Tetris style, so you can get them as high as possible or as much as possible without being overweight or over encumbered.
Unlike MMORPGs where you could put a table, 2 horses, and
in your pocket.
Yeah, in your pocket. Every herb in the world.
Yeah.
You have to, everything you pick up, it has a physical place on you.
Right, and it's on you and mostly on your back. And because of that, if you're going down terrain, you're traversing through the outdoors. So there's rocks and rivers and all types of stuff. You may lean a little bit to the right, and then you have to press a shoulder button to like move yourself to the right, move yourself to the left. And if you're like me, you forget and fall. And when you fall, you damage all of your supplies.
Yep.
And you feel real dumb because you fell.
Oh yeah. Like I think that this is momentum the game.
Yeah.
Like, is even when you're going downhill, even if you just slightly tilt it forward, if you have too much weight, you're gonna start stumbling forward, and then you have to physically, like, you have your R2 and L2 buttons, which are your shoulders, and then. But if you hit them, you have to hit them both at the same time in order to grab your straps, and then you have to like stop yourself from going. It's like, wow, it's just momentum the simulator.
And you do kind of feel it.
Oh yeah,
like you have this backpack with so much weight piled on top of it that when you're actually pressing buttons individually for your hands to hold onto the straps, I'm holding them tight.
Oh yeah,
I don't need to be holding them tight, but I'm holding that controller tight.
Yeah.
Have you gotten to the part where you can start liking ladders yet?
Yes. Yeah. I've
so
gotten there.
I think this is the Strand part. When Kojima was talking about this being a Strand game and it being its own genre, I think what he means is this aspect of the game.
Yes, I believe it's like I believe it is like that because you saw like on Dark Souls where you can put down little markers in order to help people out,
right? Like,
and that's what this
watch
is.
out! This in the next corner is going to be a dragon zombie.
Yeah.
So when you get there and then someone else says there's a dragon zombie, you can prepare before just walking into it.
Yeah. Or you can also razz some people. You can be like, hey, there's a treasure chest on the right hand side, and then there's nothing there. You just fell.
It's real messed up.
Oh yeah. But you can do these types of things in this, so you can actually, as soon as you unlock a node or whatever, you can actually see everybody else's stuff they have put down, or not everybody, but a select group of people. You can see their stuff that they put down, so you can use other people's ladders, and then you can like them for it.
and you need ladders to traverse difficult terrains.
Correct.
You can go up a hill, or you can cross some water, and then you may not have a ladder, but someone who came before you may have left their ladder, and then you can like it or...
It's so cool because the first time you go through an area, you put down your own ladders, and it's tough. And then once you get to the place, your destination, you unload your cargo. You're like, oh, that was great. And you get more cargo to go right back where you came from. And you're like, I don't want to have to go through all that again. But now that you've reached that area, it unlocks, like you said, all of everyone else's, your ladders, Brian, and you know, your ladders, Mandy, or your ropes. So that when I go back, I just see all these ladders and ropes, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. And when you get close to them, you can like them. And the likes transfer into experience in this game. So the more likes you get, the more experience. It's just really great commentary on just social media like culture. And they even go deep into the fiction of it, of like, you actually get self-worth from likes. It releases different endorphins, and you actually feel more experienced. And so you feel better when you get them.
That's the part I'm looking forward to the most. Is I think that's what I really enjoyed about watching the Metal Gear series. Is I didn't play it, but Troy played it. But the undertones of nuclear deterrence that he had throughout the entire duration of the story that like was so difficult to follow, was really interesting. So when he said he was coming out with a new game, I was like, what high concept, really difficult social change issue is he going to highlight? And I like the likes, and I like the isolation between people, and the tone is interesting.
And for the most part, I understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Which I didn't expect to. There's still mysteries.
I still think it's way too early. I still think there's going to be some
I
weird stuff
understand what
coming.
bridge babies are for.
Yeah.
I understand how they're made. I understand why they're needed. I understand what the stranding is, or what the apocalypse was, and why it's important. There's still a lot of mystery. But I think it's interesting.
I'm gonna counter that with, you've been told that all by people.
Oh, come on, man. Why you got a time fall rain on my parade?
I'm just saying.
Time fall rain.
I'm just saying. I mean, you've been told most of this from people.
No, they're my friends. They're not just people.
Some of those people
I liked them.
Some of those people are holograms. That's all I'm saying.
No, they liked me.
Some of them start as holograms. They don't tell you they're holograms until you try to jump at them.
Oh.
Guys, I was having a really positive experience.
Because that's what I was thinking as well. I was like, oh wow, I understand a lot of this. Wait a minute. What's going on here?
What's really going on?
Are they gonna like Metal Gear 2 me? Am I gonna be playing Raiden at the end of this game? What's going or 3, whatever it is? What's gonna be going on here?
You just thought you were you?
Exactly.
I'm having a great time with whatever this game is so far.
Oh, it's at the very core of this. It's a beautiful looking game.
Yeah.
That's a very high concept, just way about that they're going. It's there's time involved with it, where if rain hits you, wherever the rain hits, it comes old.
What a horrible idea.
Yeah.
They call it time fall.
Yep.
Oh, and just water drops on you and you age. That's so mean.
Yeah. But conveniently, that one girl that you meet at the very beginning, it's only from the neck down. Her face is still beautiful.
Yeah. She said she got caught in the rain, but apparently she had a helmet on and nothing else.
Literally nothing else. She's like, from my neck to my toes is like this. She takes off a glove and it's all old.
It's like an old lady hand.
It's convenient for you that your face is fine.
But that being said, the acting so far is really great. I think Norman Reedus is doing a great job.
Agreed.
Why was she naked wearing a helmet in the rain?
Death Stranding. Mystery.
She was stranded.
These are the questions we're looking for answers on.
Did you catch the little bit of like meta that they included? So you have like private rooms. So there's private rooms, and so you can like look at random stuff. But one of them is you can look at figures. So, but as you're like swinging the camera around, you'll catch the main character, Sam, Norman Reedus, looking at the camera directly, like, what are you doing? Like,
and he looks at you and like calls you forward and points directly where he wants you to look at.
Yeah.
It's your classic Kojima, just kind of having fun, breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
He throws in little Easter eggs about Metal Gear
Oh,
already.
yeah.
Different lines people are saying. He's like the master of like being totally serious, like talking about social commentary and likes, and then connecting America and how we're divided, and like drone syndrome and relying on robots and stuff. And then the other hand, it's like, drink this Monster Energy drink and get.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about the intense product placement that is this video
There's
game.
an actual Monster Energy drink, multiple of them that you drink with the like. If you look close enough, you'll see the ingredients on the back. It's so.
I was
so
very
well-graphic.
weirded out by that. Like, I was like, is this for real? I wonder, and then I always, whenever anything like that product placement, I wonder how much they paid to have that happen. Because this so clear. There is no like mistaking anything. And I agree. I think if you could zoom in, the ingredients list is there.
And it's not just that. You also get a boost out of it. You get a 10% more stamina from drinking it. So you actually want to drink it before you go back out.
And part of that, I think, is just Kojima. Maybe like, you know, he's an indie company now.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets a deal and they're like, well, work us into your thing. And instead of like trying to find some like lame way to like show somebody in the background drinking it, he's like, all right, whatever, front and center.
And not just front and center, it's also in your flask as well that you can drink. Your flask automatically filters all of your water for you, including Timefall, and turns it into Monster.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like,
So what was funny is I heard it was called Monster Energy before I found the actual cans, and I was like, "Ooh, what does that mean? Is that an acronym? You know, like most omniscient?
Monster.
Yeah. What does
Yeah.
Monster Energy really stand for in the Kojima verse? It was just Monster Energy, the thing I can get at my local gas station, which I probably will get because the more I drink them, the more I'm like, I could probably use some taurine in my system.
but yeah, I'm looking forward to where this goes. I was telling Troy before, I was like, really, not that I don't care about his games. I've completely respect all the Metal Gears and everything that's come before this, but I just want to be part of like the zeitgeist of like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I have to play it this weekend, so I'm not like, you know, not that I'm not spoiled, but that way I'm like in it with everybody else. I'm also trying to figure out what the hell's going on the same time as everybody else.
You get like the true experience.
Exactly. So that's the main reason why I'm playing this game.
Only downside, I think it might get boring.
I've
I've already made a couple trips back and forth. I'm like, this is fun for now.
I was playing it last night, and it was like 1 a.m, and I'm still playing it. And then like I started catching myself like slightly starting to nod off, and I was like, oh yeah, because I'm just walking. Like there's nothing really going on right now. So I put it down and I started up Destiny because I was like, this at least will keep me up.
I was so sad. I just wanted them to keep walking around. Like, just go pick up more stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to watch you fall. Pick up more stuff, which he didn't do. I wasn't even in the room the one time he did fall. I was like, I just want to see what that looks like. I
It's
don't know what's
brutal.
happening.
It's so embarrassing.
I watched the game mess him up. Like the game like glitched out or it had some sort of problem, and it without doing anything, it made him fall.
It was a tiny rock that I'm just supposed to climb over or whatever. And I was like, no, you bumped into that and all your stuff is now damaged. She's like, that was a rock.
I felt so
bad.
bad.
That's not a boulder. That's a rock. It's fine. There's like millions of these rocks. This one's just not good. It's fine. Take the good with the bad. So yeah, that was our game. I'm sure we'll talk about it more next week. Just nice early impressions are positive for me.
Yeah, me too.
Very much so. So, all right. Well, good games this week, guys. Good games. And now let's go into our news segment.
News.
News. So let's start with some Kojima news. He surprisingly wants to make movies after this game, which is surprising to me because he's been making movies this entire time.
Exactly.
I feel like he needs to make a mini series because I can see him making movies 100%, but I don't see him making a movie that's only 2 to 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And we're being gracious by saying 2 to 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's been at the end of some of his games, you've had to sit there for 2 hours for some of the cuts, or not even cutscenes. The end scene, it's 2 hours long, which is longer than a lot of movies.
And if that was a movie, not a great movie.
Yeah.
I mean, game wise, it's fine.
Yeah.
But good luck.
Yeah.
I'm for it. He's made good friends with Guillermo.
Oh yeah.
I'll watch it.
He's good friends with Kiefer Sutherland and Norman Reedus. I mean,
Mads
I would
Mikkelsen.
love to see those three in a movie.
Oh yeah.
So
Do you think Scorsese would agree that his film is a film? Sorry, off topic.
Scorsese's like, I'm only now barely acknowledging Marvel films. Don't get me started on a video game. I can't handle that.
Can't do it, man.
And Coppola's like, F off! Get off my lawn, you kids.
And then speaking of Japan and stuff, Japan actually aired its longest commercial ever on Japanese television. It was 7 minutes long. And surprisingly, or not so unsurprisingly, it was for Final Fantasy VII, the remake.
Oh, 1 minute for every Final Fantasy.
Oh, absolutely. But then if you wanted to watch the longer version of it, you can catch it online, and it is 12 minutes long.
Oh,
the length of a Cartoon Network cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Have they subbed it?
They have not subbed it yet. However,
Okay.
people who have who speak Japanese, or I'm sure people have said you can actually get the general gist of it just by watching it. Have said that it's actually really good, and doesn't surprise me at all because they've already done an entire Final Fantasy 14 like TV
Oh,
series.
yeah.
So that doesn't surprise me at all.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then we got some Anthem news, right there, Amanda?
We do. Anthem finally came out with some new skins. And,
Oh, wow. Thanks, Anthem. Totally timely on that one. Wow. When are they going to come out with a game? The full game.
And it's very exciting
Okay.
because they're N7 Mass Effect skins. So, I mean, if you were going to wait for skins, why not wait for the best skins?
That
right.
is exciting.
It was for N7 Day, which is November 7th.
Yes.
Ah,
It's a great day.
You can be a Krogan if you're that big tank
That's me.
guy, which is very funny.
That is pretty great.
And that ties a little bit into kind of some Mass Effect news. This is just a rumor. This is not an announcement. But some of the creators of Mass Effect posted some new concept art on N7 Day. And the internet is all a Twitter with whisperings of another Mass Effect, which is funny. No one liked Andromeda, but you still throw out Mass Effect and everyone's like, you got Mass Effect? You got some Mass Effect? Can I get in?
can I romance you, bro?
Yeah.
Hey.
Which is kind of sad to me because I feel like Andromeda, not that it wasn't a terrible game, but I think it could have been a much better game if they had still just worked on it a little bit longer, like they are trying to do with Anthem. I think if they had put their kind of resources I get why they did it because they wanted to put out Anthem because they thought it was going to save them. But I feel like if they had just put as much time and resources into N7 or into Andromeda as they did Anthem, I think it could have been much better.
Yeah, it just felt it was very sad because
Yes.
I really enjoyed playing it, but I was bored.
Yeah.
So it was just like if you had just gone that extra few months, I think I agree with you. It would have been brilliant.
Agreed. Very much so. So yeah, hopefully, I do like my N7. I do like my Mass Effect. So any news is good news for me, even if it follows a terrible game.
Even if it's bad, I'm gonna buy it.
I'm still gonna buy it. You got my money. And then back to Nintendo news, we got some Terry from what is it? Fatal Fury
Yeah.
has been
SNK.
released.
King of Fighters,
SNK has been released
He's
to
great.
Smash.
Is he just a Ken and Ryu clone?
Not direct, no. He's slower and more powerful.
Because that's pretty much what he is in the actual Fatal
Yes,
Fury
that's
games.
right. It's not exactly, but he's,
Okay.
he's much slower, and
Yeah.
he has
Yeah.
no recovery whatsoever.
Really?
Like, I knocked myself off the board many a time because I there was like up B is a waste of time. Over double tap to the B. No, it's total waste. Do not get knocked off the board. It looks like it's over. It's lights out.
Any cool costumes?
No. I didn't
right.
change. You know what? Actually, now that I think about it, I think I only changed it twice, and I just left it in red with the Fatal Fury. And
The Terry Kirby is very cute though.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that sounds
I haven't
cute.
even done that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cute. But not only was he released to the world, 50 songs from SNK have
Wow.
been released, which is, crazy because Final Fantasy still only has 2.
Yeah.
But,
Take that, Cloud.
yeah. But it's really funny because I think what happened was Sakurai, submitted songs that he would like from SNK because he had submitted all these songs and he was expecting to get like 10 back. And they were like, the reply was just yes. Like all of them. Yeah. Yes.
You want him? You can have him.
Yeah, you can have. Oh,
Yeah, like,
okay.
why are they going to say no to like one of the most popular games of all time?
Yeah, exactly.
And like the creator of that asks you for a few titles, you're like, sure.
Yeah. Oh, 50 songs? Yeah, go for it. And then also his new map has a whole bunch of SNK cameos.
That's fantastic.
So,
okay.
So they modeled a whole bunch of characters for it, which brings me to they did not, however, do my Shinryu or Shinryu, whatever it is, because, and I quote, the Smash is for good boys and girls of many different ages.
Oh.
Wait, what?
If you've never
If
seen
you don't
Mai,
know what she looks like.
she's basically wearing like a
I've
kimono, but it's
Yeah.
Very, thin
revealing.
in the chest area.
Yep.
There's
I've
a
seen
lot
that
of
cosplay.
cleavage. Yes.
Yeah, she had her idle animation is just her boobs jiggling back and forth
It's great.
with a fan.
The early 90s were a time.
They were, but people are like, yeah, but you realize you have Bayonetta in your game, right?
It's a little hypocritical.
It's it's a little.
She's technically clothed for most of that of
Yes.
her animations.
But then you're like looking over at her, she's doing splits and just like
But that's on you. That's on you.
You know what? And boobs jiggling is also on you. I just take it as he's a boobs man because asses don't phase him. He's got Zero Suit Samus, he's got Bayonetta, but then he's like, oh, boobs, no, you can't have that in there. That's way too sexual.
It's too much. It's too much.
It's a different kind of jiggle. People don't complain as much about that.
Yeah, and I feel like Bayonetta is a more empowering sexual character versus May seems a little more
no one puts
objectified.
Bayonetta in a corner.
Yeah.
May might be more objectified because of the time period she was made in, and at the same time, she's still a badass in that game.
Yeah,
she is.
Hey, you have a shirtless Shulk in that with tiny like boy shorts on, and then you also have King DDD who is thick. Like, come on.
I don't know if they're overly sexualizing a penguin, but
now that I know about that, I'm not
know what?
Go
You've opened my eyes, Brian. King did the day.
Yeah, did the damn. So yeah, I thought that was a little weird, but I get it. I mean, personally, I get it, but like, come on. And then we got some Pokemon Go news, Amanda.
Yes, we do have Pokemon Go news that they announced that the Team Rocket bosses debuted this week. So you should be able to, I think they said that they appeared in London, so I don't know if they're like here physically in our area yet, but you should be able to fight Team Rocket bosses. I don't play Pokemon Go.
It's not exactly how that works.
Okay.
But yes, it's close. Ultimately, a new thing opened up, and if you fight Shadow Stops, the Team Rocket grunts are at, they drop mysterious components. If you fight 6 of them, essentially the idea is that you would get 6 mysterious components, and it will create a Pokemon Rocket radar so that you can find the hideout of a gym leader for Team Rocket. It looks like I did it today, actually, about an hour before we came here. And I'm super, super happy about how it all worked out. However, I have nothing but curse words to say about the garbage that it dropped me after I played Gym Leader Sierra, and she fights with like I don't remember, like an Alakazam, a Sneasel, and something else. But they're all shadow types, so they're like way harder to fight. And I don't ever lose any of these battles usually because it's all pretty easy. It's not hard. But yeah, no, she was difficult, and she won twice.
Oh, no.
Like, I was really angry. And then all it gave me was a max potion and a max survive, and I was like, damn you, game. I don't need that Stardust, and I don't need this garbage. What is this? But it was pretty cool. When the radar happens, the map turns a totally different color, puts a little R on the screen, so you got to go to wherever the R is.
Oh, that's cool.
It's on a Pokestop, so
Yeah.
essentially it's I think it's just on whatever Pokestop's closer to you. I couldn't tell you for sure because I've only done it once, but super exciting. It's very fun, and this whole Shadow Stop thing is actually really fun. The grunts in the game are really great. So hooray! It also unlocked, I think, shiny Meowths as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, shiny mouse, and then now Shadow Pokemon can be shiny.
Yes. So
yeah, so cool. And then let's see here. China has placed some playing time and spending restrictions on anyone under the age of 18, so children. So it means that you can only play 90 minutes on weekdays and 3 hours on the weekends.
Wow.
And not in between 10 and 8 a.m. or sorry, 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. every single day.
These are all games?
All games. You cannot play, including mobile.
How are they going to enforce that? Well, I guess the way China does.
Well, the way China is, the way that they have it is, so in order to even connect to the internet, you need an ID and your phone number.
Right.
So they know through that whether you are.
Whoa, there's going to be some back alley speakeasy arcades.
Yeah.
There's going to be some
they have
really,
internet gaming, yeah.
There's going to be some really good
internet
movies
cafe gaming,
that are made off of this. But
absolutely.
I feel very bad for those kids.
And I get
play
it.
the games.
Like, I do get it. However, I don't think that is, me personally, I don't feel like that's the government's place in order to do it. I think that's a parent's place. But, that's me.
I agree with you.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So, and then also the spending restrictions, you can only spend between $28 and $57 a month, depending on your age. So the more age, the higher age you are, the more money you can spend. So that's, for me, it's still spending $30 on a mobile game is also crazy to me a month. But,
do that.
So yeah, that just went into effect on Tuesday.
The fun police.
Yeah, and
Coming for you.
Mobile makers have already been implementing it before this because they were in anticipation of it because they knew it was coming.
That's crazy because that puts you in a different league. Because if you were just allowing people to access your products, that's one thing. But storing their identifying information so they could use their products. I imagine giving someone your SSN to play a video game. That's a whole different ballpark of I don't want that. Don't give me that.
I think just your user ID is just designates you whether you are a certain age. I don't know if it tells. I don't know if they're telling because you have your own. It's kind of like Apple has their Apple ID.
Right.
So your Apple ID is just flagged you're 17, so you can only play this amount of time. And you can only spend this amount of money.
It just seems like if I'm 20, I'm going to give my younger sister my code and have her game on my account as long as she wants.
And then you could also get arrested if they find out.
We're twins, but a different age.
Yeah.
It's weird. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it.
And then last bit of quick PlayStation news, Troy, right?
That is right. So Shuei, our good friend Shuei Yoshida, the president of the Sony Computer Entertainment Worldwide Studios, has stepped down. He's been there since 2008. And taking his place will be Herman Hulst, who was the co-founder of Guerrilla Games, known for making Horizon Zero Dawn. So Herman Hulst is the head of the president of SCE Worldwide Studios. That is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, Guerrilla Games has made a lot of great Sony content, especially on the Western front. So that's a good place to go. And luckily, this is kind of a positive story. He's not the president anymore because he wanted, as far as we know, he wanted to step down to start a new initiative nurturing independent developers.
Oh, that's nice.
He wants to bring his skills, his name to indie people to get them into the limelight. And I can't think of a bigger name than Shuei to do that.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. And I totally get that. If you've been doing this job for 11 years, maybe you want to get back in touch with your roots.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of turnover at that company too. They've been kind of doing the thing they do every few years, which is hey, out with the old and with the new, kind of we love what you've done, but it's time for the new generation. So the idea of gracefully stepping down to be no, I'm going to move into a new chapter of my life.
It's so sweet to have a new person take an old position and an older person take a new position with new artists and new developers. I think that's beautiful. If it's all as great as it seems on the front, then awesome.
Let's live in that world.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Everything's on the up and up. Everything Death Stranding's telling us is right. So, all right, and that'll do it for our news segment.
Joe, yesterday after rehearsal, Mandy and I were craving some tacos. So we went to go get some tacos at a place that makes chimes or something. Can't remember it. But we got there, and right in the drive-thru window, it said, "Sorry, closed early."
What?
People were driving away. I thought it might have been what was happening, but we got there, and there was the sign just printed on it. We were like, man, we really wanted tacos, but we can't get tacos. So now we needed something else. But we couldn't think. Actually, I can't think of what we had right now in the moment. What was it? It was something. We had to drive around trying to find something that was like a taco, but not a taco.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, it was something zestful.
Something that tantalizes the taste buds.
Yeah, it's kind of like a tantalizing taco, but it's not what we got. But we got it. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was so zesty. What is it? It was.
Was it like bottom shelf or was it like top shelf?
No, it was pretty top shelf. It was top shelf.
Top, okay.
It tingles your taste buds. I think you had it, Joe.
Could it have been tasty?
It was tasty. It was very tasty. But what was it? It wasn't a taco.
Oh, I remember.
What was it?
It was a tasty topic.
Oh.
Wow.
Good memory.
Nice.
It was that. I'm sorry it
you.
took that long for us to remember it.
Gosh,
But
you'd think I'd remember.
yeah, it
I
was
was
so
just so
good.
disappointed we didn't get tacos.
I was about to say the devastation of no tacos. I completely understand that.
It was really devastating.
Taco Wind Chimes was not open. That's terrible. All right, and this week you have our topic, right, Manda?
I do. I thought it would be fun, since we talked so much about Kojima today, that we would talk about other complicated video game lore. Is when you're playing a video game, it's so easy to get engrossed in the world that when you step out of that video game to talk to people who were not in that world with you, that you sound insane. And I thought it would be fun for all of us to go around the table and in 2 minutes try to discuss our favorite complicated video game lore.
So you straight up want us to dip into the insanity.
Yes, dip deep into the madness.
We are all going to have 2 minutes to just blah, blah, blah,
As
blah,
much
blah,
as
blah.
you can in 2 minutes. Depending on your topic, I'm sure you probably could go like 2.5 minutes or so. But, you know.
And do we want this to try and make sense to each other, or like
I don't even know if you need to have it make sense. Just spit it out.
how many pronouns should I use?
None.
Oh gosh.
No pronouns.
You know what? Challenge accepted, Brian. I will do the best.
Oh, I'm using all of
can.
them.
Oh man.
That sounds like Troy volunteered to go first.
Oh no. I'm so afraid of this. Holy crap.
And I think, Joe, you're going to be timing us, correct?
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. So I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to say the franchise and then start the timer.
Okay, we can
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
Okay.
You can get that extra 3 seconds of your
So at least
franchise.
say the title of what
Yes.
it is.
All right.
Okay. I'm so nervous. Okay, here we go. This is dumb. This is a dumb thing. Okay, here we go. Metal Gear Solid. In the late 20th century, there was a soldier who had to go infiltrate a base, a terrorist base, that was creating a new super weapon that was going to nuke weapons or nuclear bombs from anywhere in the world called Metal Gear. Now, he just got that from people that was in charge of him, his general, big boss. He went in, did it, and then found out the person who did it was his actual commander, who's actually the villain. Whoa! Fast forward way later, he then finds out he's a clone of this guy who was his general, who's like the greatest soldier that ever lived. And so he's like, oh, who am I? And he has a twin who also is like a clone, and he's like, I'm evil. He's like, I'm not evil. And they fought each other, and then they destroyed another Metal Gear. And then we find out later that actually his father, his clone, actually came from the 60s. It was actually someone who was involved with someone named the Boss, who was like the true heir of the entire manifest of what it means to be a real soldier, and was actually a real patriot. She actually laid on the sword and took the blame for all of America when they did something wrong, going down as a patriot. Fast forward to that, you find out that a Big Boss, which is Snake's father, the person from the beginning who infiltrated the base, is actually not just a clone, but is still operating in this world. He actually has a clone of himself made, not just a clone, but someone else who he makes look like him. So it's not a clone, but it looks like him. And that person is actually the real person who sends the original Snake out onto the base to begin with in the first Metal Gear, that you thought that Snake actually killed as the villain. You thought he was the villain. He wasn't the villain. It was Big Boss's lookalike who was the villain, and not actually Big Boss, because the Big Boss's lookalike actually went evil. And it turns out the person you thought was evil wasn't actually evil. Big Boss is actually a really good soldier and really thoughtful and really cared for his 2 clone sons. And then on top of that, you have to remember that the mother that actually had them incubated inside of him, she's known as Big Mama. She actually took the clones and actually gave birth. So she gave birth to 2 of them. So he's kind of not just a clone. He also has like a real mom. And you know all this because the Philosopher's Stone, who was originally like the trust fund that was actually part of the Philosopher's Stone. What? No.
That's it?
Oh, damn it. How did Harry Potter sneak in there?
I don't know. I was wondering that. So I was like, what?
man.
What did you mean to say?
It's the Philosopher's like code. It's the money. It's the motivation for everything in Metal Gear.
Okay.
It's not even the stone. I don't even know what it's called.
I like where it ended. Philosopher's Stone.
Oh man, that is so hard.
Nice. Nicely done there, Troy.
Did I even say Solid Snake?
You did say Snake.
Okay, close enough.
Yeah, I figured.
There were a lot of bosses.
I said his name so much.
I do love to kind of go off track. I do love how Kojima, everything is so literal. Like Big Boss, Big Mama. You have Dead Man in Death Stranding.
Die Hard Man.
Die Hard Man.
It's hard for him to die.
Yeah.
There was a villain called Fat Man. He was just fat.
Yeah. Metal Gear. It's a metal and has gears. I just love how literally every single thing in his games are.
Oh, I love this gobbledygook we were doing.
Oh yeah, that's pretty great. Amanda, would you like to go next?
Yes, I'm gonna try.
Okay.
I didn't expect this to be so stressful, and now that I'm sitting here.
2 minutes is longer than I thought.
Yes, it is.
It is. All right, so ready? Go ahead and say your
I'm gonna talk about Dragon Age Inquisition.
go.
Okay, so it starts out and the mages and the Templars are at war. They're at war because of a really complex human rights issue where the mages, despite the fact that they have control of themselves most of the time, they can kind of be possessed by demons. So the mages think that they should be free to police themselves, but the Templars think that they should police the mages for the safety of everyone. And because they have this disagreement, and they've had it for a really long time, this mage that lived in Kirkwall, which is like a port city, blew up a church because he was possessed by a good demon at the time. And after the church blew up, there started a civil war between the mages and the Templars. And the game begins with the two of them getting together to discuss a ceasefire. But during their ceasefire discussions, the temple blows up. And then you're blamed for it. So the game starts with you being blamed for this explosion, but it wasn't really you. It was actually a Tevinter mage who... a Tevinter mage, which is a different country, who was born hundreds of years ago, and he entered the realm of the Fade, which is like their magic realm where spirits live, to try to usurp the gods. But when he got there, he was cursed, and he started this like plague of darkspawn, which are like these zombie creatures that come from under the ground every few years. He is there because he wanted a magical artifact that another old elven god had tried to get him to unlock, but you don't really know this yet. You just know that you tried to do something and that it didn't work, and then the whole temple exploded, and then you were there, and because you were there, your hand started to glow, and because your hand was glowing, they're like, this is your fault. And you're like, I don't even know. So yeah, they tried to get to, and when your hand started to glow, there was a rift in the sky between your world and the Fade, which is like the spirit world, so that like bad juju is coming through, and like this green lightning stuff, and that's just you. That's just the start menu.
Oh my god! Oh, video games are so dumb.
Yeah, they are.
I love it.
Is it Joe?
Joe's gonna go next. Ooh.
My brain. This is just as hard to intake. All of these.
Just imagine if like people haven't played any of these games and they're trying to follow Triumphant Mages or whatever it was. And
I thought about saying spoiler beforehand, but I don't think any of this makes sense.
No, this doesn't make sense.
So it's just fine. That's
the topic.
Funny.
Yeah,
it's just funny.
All right.
Okay, I will be giving the lore, which I don't think mine's gonna even take 2 minutes. I feel like I think I might be all right, actually.
Whoa.
If you don't take 2 minutes, we're gonna ask questions.
I have more to say about Metal Gear, so no problem.
Yeah, I will be. I don't know
right
if it's
in
gonna
there.
take that long because I'm gonna do Tomb Raider, the reboots, the Crystal
Ooh.
Dynamics, Shadows of those. I'm gonna do those ones.
All right,
so
cool.
Hit me.
Go.
All right, so there's this chick named Lara Croft. She's an archaeologist. You find out when she was a child that her mother died when she was younger, and her father is also an archaeologist. Her father was obsessed with immortality because her mother died at a younger age. So Lara gets pretty much left alone by her dad for a very, very long time. She kind of goes on some expeditions with him. She finds that she doesn't really get along with other people, so she's kind of introverted. She becomes a book nerd. She decides to go to school. She's from a very, very rich family. They have a manor. They have a butler and everything. She decides, I'm not going to be part of that. I'm going to go do something else with my life. I'm going to go to university. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to do all these things myself. I'm going to learn to be an independent woman. And this chick goes off and she learns to be a badass bitch. And so since she gets hooked up with this dude who's making a TV show, and the TV show is about this island named Yamata. She gets on the boat with this guy. She doesn't really want to be part of the expedition, really. She doesn't want to be part of the TV show. She wants to be part of an expedition. They get to the island. She's with all her friends. Her friend named Sam looks just like this ancient priestess who's a Japanese demon. And spirituality and scary demon things are not real in this world as far as we are concerned. So they get caught in the Dragon's Triangle, not the Devil's Triangle. They get caught in the Dragon's Triangle. Horrible shipwreck happens. They end up on this empty island. It's not empty at all. There's got these people named the Solari on it and a whole bunch of bad people all underneath this guy named Matthias, who is now, we are going to skip a little bit to the second game. Matthias is a part of this horrible bunch of people called Trinity. They actually killed Lara's dad. She finds out. She becomes a survivor. She's a badass. She saves her friend Sam from being
Priestessized?
Priestessized? Yeah, I don't even know what you would call that. But she winds up saving her friend Sam, but then another horrible thing happens when she tries to get off the island with her one friend that is still alive, and they wind up getting shipwrecked again, essentially, in the snow. You find out that Trinity is there. There's an immortal guy there who's also trying to help them, and she finds out immortality is real. This priestess thing is real. And then in the third game, she winds up getting off of the damn island, gets into Mexico, and becomes a god.
Wow. Hats.
Yeah,
off.
an actual literal god.
Every single thing in the third
Wow.
game is about her becoming God.
You nailed that in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That was like 1 minute and 59.5 seconds.
Yeah.
That was perfect.
That was amazing because it was mostly the first game.
That's
I was
where
like,
all the lore is.
I was like, there's no way you have 20 seconds. You're going to be able to do the next two. And you did it flawlessly.
Very little happens in those other games that matters more than bad guy gets created and you find out their name.
And Baba
You
Yaga.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I should. That's missing. I love the Baba Yaga part.
Love the Baba Yaga.
I did miss a very important part, actually.
But you know what?
I
Baba
missed
Yaga
one
was
big important
DLC.
thing.
That was kind of added afterwards.
That's true.
That's okay.
But that's not what I missed. I missed the betrayal. That's part of
That's right.
part of the second one. I did mention that they killed her dad. I didn't mention which one of them did it.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I missed 2 full games on mine.
Yeah, I've ruined nothing with that third game aside from the end.
I only talked about the start menu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did.
you win. You win.
That was pretty good. All right.
Gosh.
So I guess now it's my turn. It's going to come a shock to a few people because I was because I was doing Final Fantasies. I'm going through all the different ones, and a lot of them are very convoluted.
Yes.
I went with the one that I know best. So I will be doing Final Fantasy VII.
Ooh.
All right, so Final Fantasy VII, you start off and you're like this badass dude, and you're just going through, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna blow up this reactor, whatever. But it's just what it is. But let's just fast forward all the way to the very beginning. So there's these people called the Ancients, and so in the Ancients, what you have is they're just people that are living on the earth. It's cool. And then humans, which are the people that you're playing, are ancients, but they're ancients that have just left spirituality. So they just go off and they want to have fun and whatever.
Okay.
They don't care about spirituality. But the ancients are still spiritual. So then 2,000 years before the game starts, a calamity from the sky lands down on the northern crater, or what becomes a northern crater. And the ancients have to ward it off. And basically it becomes Genova later on in the game. But so they ward him off, and there's not very many ancients left. So fast forward to the game, or actually 40 years before the game, they discover the life force, which they call Mako, which is basically oil, but actually contains people's souls. But they don't realize that, so they are mining this oil for power, to make materia, to embetter their lives, but they don't realize that they are literally sucking the life force out of the planet. So they're using this. They create a soldier. They do a soldier program where they're trying to create super soldiers, and so Sephiroth gets created, and so he becomes their biggest, baddest dude. And then he realizes that he was created. Literally created because they injected him with Mako and they tried to do all this other stuff with them. So he goes rogue. And then you are another person named Cloud in the actual game, and you are trying to fight stuff and you're trying to do other things. And then I also forgot there's weapons. The weapons that the world has made. There's 6 different weapons, and they're also helped fight off the calamity in the sky way back when. And they're here now, and you have to try to fight them off as well. That wasn't very good.
I knew you were doomed when you said, well, let me take it back to the ancients.
Yeah, you have to go back to the ancients.
I was like, you're not getting anywhere near.
Oh, I know I'm not.
We asked for lore and we got lore.
You got lore. If you wanted to play the game, you could just play the game. If you want the lore, though.
So if you guys want, while everybody was doing theirs, I was writing down the key points, the big things that were repeated or were said in a way that, So for Troy's, which was Metal Gear Solid,
Fascinating.
these are the things that stood out the most.
Uh-huh.
Clones, the boss, nukes, patriots, lookalikes, Big Mama, philosophers.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's like a haiku that explains everything in Metal Gear.
I'm going to save Manda's for last.
Okay.
All right.
Brian's was badass dude, blow up reactor, ancients, 2,000 years before calamity, Genova, Mako, soul oil, life force from planet, super soldiers, Sephiroth goes rogue, Cloud fight stuff, weapons.
I got it.
This is my favorite thing we've done.
Okay, and here's Manda's for Dragon Age Inquisition. Mages, war, free, Templars, demon possession, ceasefire, explosion, Tevinder mage, you get blamed, God usurper, temple explosion, glowing hands, rift in the sky, bad juju.
You missed start menu.
I was laughing too hard.
Yeah.
This is my favorite thing. Feel free to play at home. Think of your own convoluted game story and try to see if you can explain it in 2 minutes.
In 2 minutes.
Make a video, send it to us.
Oh, please, just tag us.
We may have to revisit this game
I agree.
one
Yeah.
day. I mean, we got Tekken, we got Mortal Kombat.
I got
we have-
Final Fantasy X.
You have Final Fantasies 1 through
Through
15,
10,
16.
Tetris.
Oh my God, 15.
I don't understand how Tetris has a convoluted story, but I really want to know one
of these
day.
days. I got you.
I am so happy about
I
this.
agree. We need to revisit this. I like it.
I can talk about the drow. You want to know about the drow? I can tell you anything about the drow.
moving on.
Man,
got
I'm
a
there
song.
with you with the drow. We can do this.
We got a song to sing.
We do have a song to sing because that brings us to our final segment, which is the Dragon of the Week.
Doom, doom, doom. It's the dragon of the week you'll want to seek. It's the dragon of the week. It'll make you freak over the dragon of the week. Dragon of the week. Dragon of the week is our chance to shine a little love on the industry professionals that make the games that we love to talk about.
That's right. And this week's Dragon of the Week is going to be my own Dragon of the Week. We've been doing Death Stranding and talking a lot about Kojima.
Yeah.
So instead of doing the man himself, I was like, you know what? Who's somebody who's really important to him and who he trusts?
Nice.
So I came up with Yoji Shinkawa, who is the art director at Kojima Productions. So he actually has been his art director since the first Metal Gear Solid, and he was one of two other names that are actually credited on besides Kojima on the actual game. Really? Besides all the high end positions, there's only one other dude, which is another producer, and then the art director, which is this guy, Yoji
I'm
Shinkawa.
so excited that you are talking about him. He is instrumental in everything Kojima has done.
Oh yeah. It was actually great researching him too, and it was tough finding some stuff though because a lot of periods are just not covered because I'm sure a lot of it's in Japanese that I just don't have access to.
Yeah.
But what I did find is that he graduated from Kyoto Seika University. Have no idea what it was, but he started working at Konami in 1994, and he was initially a debugger for the PC version of Police Knots. And then he went on to be the art director for all the console ports of it. I don't know how he got from debugger to head art director for the game, but he did at some point. And then he moves fast in the world because then he went on to work on as the art director for all of Kojima's directed of Metal Gear Solid games. So, and this included the characters as well as the mechs in the game. So he did all of that stuff. And if you look at his resume, it's just all Metal Gears. Just Metal Gears, Metal Gears,
awesome.
Metal Gears, Metal Gears.
Well, those games have a lot of art and a lot of content.
They
And
do.
There's a lot of them.
Oh
so
yeah,
it's just
there is. And not only that though, but I guess Konami liked his mechs so much, they also had him design all the mechs for Zone of Enders.
Oh, okay, cool.
So he designed just the mechs. There was somebody else who did all the characters, but he
that
did all the
man
mechs.
knows mechs.
Oh yes, he does. And it also didn't hurt that Kojima was a producer / creator of it, but whatever. And then as a joke though, when he initially created the mechs, he put the cockpit in the crotch region just as a joke, and then I guess somebody was like, "Yeah, that's fine." So it made it to the game. If
What?
you look, the cod pieces that they have are the actual cockpits, literally the cockpits of where all the pilots are, and so. I thought that was just hilarious. He was also the designer of Raiden in the Metal Gear games. And so
I didn't even talk about Raiden.
No, you
Gosh,
didn't. I know.
so much.
But he purposely designed him to be unisexual. So he had basically no gender. Or from what you can discern from his face. And he did that in order to appeal to both the males and female gamers of the world.
Cool.
And so that way it wouldn't be an obstacle to how you liked him. Whether, this guy's way too pretty, he's got to be a bad guy or a good guy, whatever. And then another character he created in the same game was Rose. And Rose is also kind of stands out because she's an average looking person.
Right.
She's not like overly beautiful or overly ugly. She's just an average, ordinary person. And he said that was actually one of the most difficult people to create because it's just ordinary.
And everyone's so used to just making models and
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
6 abs and whatnot. So
Yeah, her description was a very intelligent, ordinary woman.
yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I have nothing to work with here." So yeah, he created that too. So I pointed those two up because those are two very, I think, unique looks in games. Because you have one who just doesn't really look like a male or a female, and then another one who's just ordinary.
Right.
I was about to be like, I'm sure he knows some intelligent female friends. And I was like, oh, but how do you go to your friend and be like, hey, can I use you for a game? You're like, yeah, sure. What are you looking for? I'm looking for someone ordinary. She's like average. Just like,
It doesn't stand out at all. Whatever.
in a good way.
Oh, absolutely. His drawing process has also changed throughout the years. So like for the original Metal Gear Solid, he used a brush pen because there's nothing's very detailed in that world. So all of his concept art and everything was just with the brush pen because whatever, they're just blobs on the screen anyways. But then when for the PS2 though, he actually had to start drawing facial features. So he actually had to go in with with pens and different things in order to do it, and he really hated it. He was like, I learned from a brush pen, and I just don't like having to go in there and putting in wrinkles and putting in facial expressions. Like, but another way that he's pretty unique in his approach is that instead of scanning original art into a computer and working on it that way, he creates a photocopy of it and then scans the photocopy in order to make it so that it has some rough texture.
Oh,
it
that's
gives
cool.
it some character versus just being clean art. It actually has some just awesomeness to it. Yeah, some pizzazz that makes it look just a little rougher. And he also sometimes draws really small and then blows it up with the photocopier in order to give it also another unique look that looks normal, but then you're like, there's something off about that. Right. I don't know what it is. It's just not perfect, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so I was like, that's a really interesting way to do art. And his art influences are like Amano and like Frank Miller and those types of people, which it completely explains his brush pen because that's how Amano completely works.
You're going to have to forgive me. What games have they worked on?
Amano is the one who has done Final Fantasies.
Okay.
So he's done all the watercolor art that you see.
Oh, yes. I am familiar with those.
Yeah. Watercolor Final Fantasy. You know exactly who he is. And then Frank Miller, he is an American artist who's done
Dark Knight.
There we go.
comic book.
Sin City.
Dark Knight Returns.
300.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
300.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, and then also Mobius as well, but he's a French author. He's a French artist.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he cites those people as his actual like influences, and completely shows through in his art. If you look at any of those art of Metal Gears or anything like that, it's like, oh no, that completely shows through. And then you might be thinking to yourself, man, the way he does everything is kind of all over the place. He like scans stuff in, he draws some small sometimes and enlarges it. And the reason is very intentional. He doesn't ever want to like do the same thing every single time, because then that's the only thing he's ever going to be able to do. He's constantly changing and evolving in order to make it so that he can think of something else. He can draw however he wants and people will get it.
Nice.
So yeah, he's worked on many games. Again, like I said, mostly Metal Gear Solids. But this year, he even he collaborated with Square Enix for their game Left Alive as a character designer. It didn't do very well, but hey, the characters looked awesome.
He did his job.
He did, and if you look at the cover art for it, it actually looks like it's a Metal Gear game, even though it's a front mission game. It looks very Metal Gear, and it's like, oh, I wonder why that. Oh wait, that makes sense. Yeah. And then you might have heard another game, Death Stranding. We've talked about it once or twice on this
Maybe.
podcast. Maybe I don't know. So yeah, that would be. Oh my god, that would be Yoji Shinkawa.
Yeah, it's cool to realize that even though Hideo Kojima is a big name, that it's not just him that has made this legacy in these franchises. It is a very talented team, which he's very proud of. Like he's not there being like, no, it's all me.
Yeah.
But it's great to know that they've been with him just as long and deserve just as much spotlight.
Oh yeah, he's been working with Kojima since, like I said, I think 98 is when the console releases were for Policenauts. But yeah,
You don't get Kojima without him.
no, that is very true.
Kojima's like, I had this dream, and he's like, here we go.
Oh yeah,
I got you.
Yeah,
Let me make this real.
Yeah, when he announced the independent studio move, there was only 2 other names brought up. It was that one producer guy and this guy. Those were the 2 big names that he was like, these people are coming over. The rest of my staff is as well, but these are the big names that are coming over with me.
Awesome.
So yeah, so that's this week's Dragon of the Week, Yoji Shinkawa.
Well done.
Well done, and well deserved. That guy's
Yes.
been putting in the work.
Talented.
Very talented. So that brings us to the end of this week's episode.
Ba-dum, ba-boom.
As always, we record live upstairs inside of Tate's Comics, powered by our friends, the 3000 Brigade.
Ha-cha-cha-cha.
You can find us online.
That's right. Check us out at Taste of Dragons on Twitter and Instagram for continuing conversation and celebratory times of games throughout the week.
That's right. And then we had what was it? This week's in history and games.
This week, this week in gaming history.
There we go.
Goes towards Dragon Age Origins. Funny that you talked about it. Came out November 3rd, 2009. Definitely changed the game and the genre of RPGs of that type, and it launched, a pretty okay franchise, I'd say. What do you think, Mandy?
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You should check it out sometime.
So happy 10th anniversary, Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah, very much well. I don't know why I said very much well, but I did. Very much well is what we're doing. I enunciate well.
And don't forget to check us out at Anime Hawaii, which is next Saturday on the November 15th.
That's right. That is this Saturday.
This
coming
Saturday.
up.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I think it's that's this Saturday
This
coming
Saturday
up. So the
coming
15th to the 17th, we'll be there.
We are looking to be there in Dragons, handing out loot for some special people.
Come check us out.
Yeah, and if you want to see what we look like as dragons, check out our Instagram.
We're just the most adorable dragons you've ever seen.
It's true.
If you've
Next to
never
Todd.
seen any other dragon, you're good.
I would freak out if I saw a real dragon.
I wouldn't.
Come on.
I'd get eaten.
It depends.
come on.
It
How
depends.
big's the dragon?
Yeah.
Huge. A dragon. Classic
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
dragon hoarding
Okay.
smog type.
Then yes, but if we're talking about like Darby the dragon, I'm fine.
Oh, no. Well, I don't know. I'd still be afraid.
I don't know. What if it's Mushu?
afraid of
well,
Mushu?
I'm definitely. He's gonna murder me. Mushu's gonna murder me somehow accidentally.
He's going to make you
It's
trip.
not going to be an accident. After all these Mushu hitting podcasts, it's not an accident.
He's coming for you.
Him, Matt Smith,
And Jenny McCarthy.
and Jenny McCarthy. They're gonna be working together to take me out.
And I can't blame him. So there's that.
I would deserve it. They'd be coming down like, no, you're right. I got this. Yeah, just go for it. So yeah, that brings us to the end. So once again, my name is Brian.
My name is Troy.
Amanda.
And I'm Joe.
Have a great
and
week.
we
everyone.
are. And we are
The Taste of Dragons.
I nailed it. Have a great week.